Welcome to the Wavemakers Podcast by Tool. I'm Birgit Liodden, and in each episode, we dive in with bold female founders making waves in ocean and new energies. Let's dive in. Joining me in studio today from Sydney, Australia, is superstar Anita Kolni, founder of Ocean Lovers Festival. Festival founder Anita hails from generations of ocean lovers, with her father and uncle being world-class and Olympic sailors. And before founding the festival, she worked at Cannes Film Festival, Monte Carlo Grand Prix, and the ATP tennis tournament. Anita has a passion and natural knack for bringing people together, a key to the festival's vision for ocean impact. She's recognized as a global connector in the ocean sector for her campaign to bring hope for the ocean to the public. The 2025 festival united more than 127,000 attendees and more than 200 satellite events across the Sydney region throughout a month, ending with her flagship festival at Bondi Beach. It reached more than 2,200 students with educational activities and more than 47.5 million combined global digital reach, bringing ocean action to life. So no wonder that I'm super thrilled and excited to have you here with us, Anita, to share your story, your passion, and your personal journey. And welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today.
And I wonder, Anita, for those who don't yet know about the Ocean Lovers Festival, can you just take us quickly through what is the festival about?
The Ocean Lovers Festival is an opportunity to really get people connected to the ocean, to inspire them and engage them through education and entertainment, and really give hope to people that there is so much that everybody can do and so many solutions out there. So we don't want people to feel in despair. We really want people to feel encouraged and inspired that we can all do something to make the ocean a better place. And it's such an important thing because it's at the heart of the climate crisis, and we all need a healthy ocean to survive.
What's your vision and commitment for the future, and which footprint do you seek to leave behind through the Ocean Lovers Festival initiative?
We really created the festival as a platform to elevate everybody in the ocean space and to give the public and the community an opportunity to fall in love with the ocean, because if you love something, you're much more inclined to protect it. So really, I just want to see this grassroots movement grow into a global movement that's going to shift the dial and really connect people to the environment again and make them realize how important it is that we protect our environment to protect our own future.
Excellent. So in the future, Ocean Lovers Festival everywhere.
Everywhere.
Excellent. Well, I would love to see several in the other cities and countries where I travel. So let's see. And then I wonder, part of this, I assume, comes from your upbringing and your family, but I'm also very curious to hear about your inner purpose and drive. What was it that initiated this personal commitment you have and the journey to become an entrepreneur? And if you would add, are there any specific key challenges or surprises or amazing cool achievements that you have experienced since you started?
Sure. Look, I think I come from a very entrepreneurial family. And we've traveled a lot. My parents are from Sweden, and they came here, and I was the first Australian born in the family. And, my dad and my uncle were Swedish Olympic sailors, the youngest ever in the Swedish Olympic team at the time. And when my father discovered Australia, he was like, oh, I don't want to go anywhere again. Like, I don't want to be dragging my boat across the ice. What an amazing place to live. And I think I've always just really appreciated how fortunate I was to grow up with this beautiful beach lifestyle and be connected to nature. By the time I've got 4 children of my own now, and I was a stay-at-home mum for some time with my children, and I started the Ocean Lovers Festival as a passion project on the side because I realized that there's so much climate and eco-anxiety in children, and my children aren't living in the same time and growing up in the same time that I grew up in. I was so fortunate to take all of that for granted. Having that awareness, once you're aware, you can't go back. Having that awareness that, the world is not the same place. Our climate and environmental challenges are such a major focus today that I just wanted to do something that was going to make a difference for my children. And leave the world a better place for them and or future generations. Some of the amazing things that have happened along the way. When I started the festival, I met with the ambassador of Monaco to Australia at the time, and they were just about to have their first Monaco Ocean Week over in Monaco. And when I presented my idea to her, and I hadn't even had the first festival, she said, "Oh, you'll have to come over for our first Monaco Ocean Week." So I said to my ex-husband, I said, "You need to take some time off work because I've got to fly over to Monaco." And I flew over to Monaco and I met with the Prince Albert Foundation and the Oceanographic Museum, and they became some of our first supporters. Coming from a stay-at-home mum's perspective and going with meeting with really important people like that, it was such an uplifting and a moment that really gave me a lot of inner strength to go, well, here's me, a stay-at-home mum, meeting with these really important global initiatives and movements, and they can see the value in what I'm bringing to them. So I flew after that to EarthX in Texas, where I'd been invited by Mission Blue and one of my contacts there, and I presented about the festival at EarthX, which is one of the world's biggest environmental festivals as well. And I met with Sylvia Earle at the time, and I said, from Mission Blue, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to start an Ocean Lovers Festival in Sydney and to inspire hope and make people fall in love with the ocean. And as part of that, I want to nominate a hope spot for Sydney." And she signed a book for me saying, "To Anita, champion for our oceans." So that was like a really, really special moment for me. And I flew back to Sydney after all these incredible encounters, and I just felt supercharged and energetic that I had it in me, and it really gave me the strength to go, I'd never stepped out to be an entrepreneur on that level. I was just following my passion and trying to do something good. And then I realized, no, I really got something here and people believe in me and I actually have the ability to do this. So when I came back here and I knew that I had some real like global movements and people behind me, it made it a lot easier to then go and speak to starting Waverley Council and say, listen, what do you think about having Bondi as the first stage for our Ocean Lovers Festival? And they thought, wow, this totally fits with our sustainability environmental planning. Let's do it. So yeah, it took about a year from the time that I started planning and talking about it till we had our first festival, a year and a few months. And yeah, then that was it. Some of the major challenges that we've faced is that just a day out from our second festival, we got hit with COVID. And when you're a new event and really, very startup, that was a really big challenge because events rely on people to turn up. So that was a really big one. So in those first 2, and because we hadn't been around for longer, we couldn't apply for any government support or funding support or anything. So it was purely passion, no pay for the first 4 years of the festival to just get it to that stage. And I remember someone saying to me once, what kept you going? How did you do that? 4 cancellations over 2 years with COVID and everything. I said, you know what? Being a mum of 4, the best way I can describe that is, if you asked me after being pregnant for 9 months if I'm not going to give birth, like that would be like saying, you're not allowed to give birth after 9 months. I've been working all the way through this and it's been such a challenge. There's no way. I don't care if it's taken 2 years longer and 4 cancellations. I am delivering another festival, like it or not.
Absolutely. That's such an amazing parallel. I often refer to Tool as my third child, my biggest baby, my only girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, and it's so interesting because I see this is something that keeps coming up in the conversations with female founders, that a lot of the time there wasn't like a strategy in place, a big plan, or it's more, a lot of the women I talked to in this series, they just felt that this thing they came across, it just had to be done. And the consequence of doing that meant that they had to become entrepreneurs without necessarily having kind of all of the toolbox and the kind of background, etc. for it. So it's kind of more like jumping in and learning along the way.
And I think it's actually been I love it because it teaches you that anything is possible. Absolutely. It's all, if you step out of your comfort zone and you try, you can literally achieve almost anything. And that's why they say the most successful people in the world, it doesn't matter what you do, are the ones that have failed the most. You fail 99 times, then you're going to succeed on the 100th. But if you don't try, you'll never succeed.
Absolutely. And I think that's such an important lesson for youth and for our kids these days in a world that is going through so many crazy and extreme changes and crises, to also see these as, waves of opportunities. for each of us to step up, not to give up, to
That's
just build grit and stubbornness and just go at it, right?
That's right. And I think that's why education and entertainment are two of the key things that we've fallen on, in a sense, because entertainment can reach such a broad audience, whether it's through film or, festivals and music. It's just a way to really bring people together and, get them to feel emotionally connected with something. Education is the key. If we can't educate people to understand something, then we're not going to create the change that we need and change the mindsets and everything. So that's why one of our biggest areas that's been growing along with the festival footprint, which is really just about connecting the community with experts and being that bridge between the community and the experts, and being a platform for everybody to elevate everyone in the ocean space that often work in silos and in their own spaces. And so that the community can actually see how much work is going on behind the scenes. Oh, I didn't know that I could go and buy swimwear made out of recycled fishing nets or bottles. I didn't know someone was creating a device that can suck plastic out of the ocean or whatever else, and that brings hope to the community that we're not in such a dire straight situation if we can just put some more energy behind these people. And then the education piece has really grown for us. So we started off with the school competition, which is giving students the opportunity to create artwork out of things that could end up in the ocean. And then we've launched a second competition now, which is Fish Tank, which is like our version of Shark Tank, allowing school students to come up with innovative ideas for the ocean with prize money. And now we've got universities and things offering mentoring and other things. And now and then we have excursion programs to the festival where kids can really do really immersive hands-on things, from building seahorse hotels that are going to get deployed off the coast to driving underwater drones, so that they really get immersed in this underwater world and understand it better. And now we've just launched a new program called Ocean Smart Schools, where we're going into schools and bringing that ocean science, but not just ocean science. Why is it important to you and why should you care about it? Straight into the schools and connecting to all our competitions and other things for year-round engagement with schools. But that's a really important focus for us to grow. And we're extending it this year to try and grow it into a national platform, so we can reach as many students as possible.
Amazing. Simply amazing. I can't wait to be able to participate myself in one
have
of
to
the
come.
upcoming festivals. That's something that is so important for any one of us that starts building an initiative and a company, which is those critical early supporters. And I wondered if you can share, aside from those you already mentioned, which supporters that paid it forward to you from those very early days that enabled you to get started and get where you are today, those that have really been your door openers, the critical ones.
Yeah. So I think in Sydney, we'll talk about Sydney now because we've spoken from some of that international support. But one of the first projects we did was with the Sydney Institute of Marine Science. And we went and saw the director of the Sydney Institute of Marine Science that were designing, together with Volvo, who was one of our core partners. They came on board in our first year, supported in the first and second year, and then they did 3 years as a naming rights partner, which has been amazing. So Volvo was sponsoring a project in Sydney called the Living Seawall Tiles with the Sydney Institute of Marine Science, which was about restoring the Sydney Harbour by creating these beautiful tiles that would attach to the wall, because when they build harbours, a lot of the walls are flat and then sea life can't attach itself anymore. So when we went to them the first time, and they said, do you think you could get living seawalls and crayweed forest potentially into the Icebergs pool at Bondi, which is an iconic pool, one of the most iconic pools in the world, ocean pools? And we said, well, we can try. So we went to the Icebergs, and in the first festival, we had a crayweed forest, a living seawall tile planted in the pool that people could dive in and explore these new, these projects that are generally out of sight and out of mind. And we had scientists there that could talk to them and you could learn about it. And we did that for the first couple of years, actually, which was a great project. And that project then went on to become one of the first 3 finalists in Prince William's first Earthshot Prize, which was fabulous. So Sydney Institute of Marine Science were a major supporter and collaborator from the beginning. Waverley, as Our local government for Bondi Beach was a major supporter. The Australian National Maritime Museum jumped on very early on. A lot of the universities, and that has really enabled us to become this platform for collaboration because, like I mentioned before, a lot of these people work in silos. And what happened out of our first festival, we created something called a Blue Date Day, which was after a chat with Tim Silverwood from OIO. He said, everyone works in their silos. They never have a chance to get together. And out of that first Blue Date Day that we put together, which is later became our Blue Solutions Summit, we had the Gamay Rangers, which are the Indigenous coastal rangers, the first Indigenous coastal rangers of New South Wales, who'd just been funded. They met with the Sydney Institute of Marine Science and University of New South Wales. And not long after the festival and meeting at the festival, they received 7 years federal funding, which I can't say we had anything to do with. But thanks to those relationships they built at the festival, they are doing collaborations with the Sydney Institute of Marine Science, it really incorporating that Indigenous knowledge and the science to do better restoration projects that they're working on together. The University of New South Wales is training all of their young rangers, and it's just been some incredible collaborations. The Sydney Institute of Marine Science. Another of the collaborations that have come from the festival was the CSIRO with the Sea Shepherd and the University of New South Wales that did something on microplastics and plastic pollution. So there's been really become quite a significant platform for connecting government, science, business, people and creating new opportunities to accelerate ocean impact.
That's like the dream case, having worked a lot both with impact and environment in the ocean space and between corporate startups and the talent sphere. I mean, that kind of basically village thinking is so essential. And that brings me over to my next question to you, because of course you have been growing so immensely and now you're going more national. I assume that like the West Coast and Perth is on the radar for you with the 4 Blue bunch and the innovators.
We've met with Andrew from 4 Blue. Yeah. We were over in WA just over a year ago to explore during a festival last year there when they had the Marine Mammal Conference, the International Marine Mammal Conference. And we met with all the big players over there, and everybody wants us to bring a festival over there, which is definitely one of the ones that have been on the card. So we've been invited by Fremantle Council. We had chats with Minderoo and 4 Blue and a lot of other organizations. That comes to when at the time we hadn't yet expanded out of Bondi. And as it was getting closer, we also had this Sydney-wide month-long festival that was brewing, and we had to make a call. We've got a small core team, and we thought, more important to establish the event in Sydney as a month-long event with a real vision to create a global landmark event by 2030, the end of the ocean decade, because that gives us the strength to do all those satellite events in a much better way. So the other ones we just put on the side burner for a little bit, but they're still on the cards. And Sunshine Coast and Queensland are also interested in us bringing an event. We were invited to bring an event to COP28 in Dubai last year as well.
Ooh.
So it was just like I said, we're too much of a small core team. The funding's just not there, and we had to keep our focus on what's going to help us build a more sustainable long-term event, and that was expanding across Sydney to start with.
Absolutely. What are the most critical, essential resources that you need to towards your vision onwards?
We definitely need more sponsors and philanthropic partners. It's funding. Funding is the key. Government, even some stronger government partnerships from a federal point of view to do a bit of a federal. Ideally, we'd like to do a national rollout of the festival. And I think that being such a good platform for collaboration and creating new connections, I hope that the government will see that as something that they should be supporting a bit stronger. We work very closely with local government, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Primary Industries, but we haven't yet. Just before COVID hit, we actually put a submission for big government funding to do a national rollout. And of course, that timing just didn't work, unfortunately. So that is one partnership. And then I guess companies that can really see the value to align to be seen as doing good in the ocean space. So sponsorship, philanthropic support and funding is definitely the biggest challenge and the biggest one we're facing, especially having grown very quickly from a 4 or 5 day festival to a month-long event with year-round activations happening now as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at kind of that challenge part and support, I mean, Tool is built as a global collective of people focused on regenerative models and the whole village and tribe thinking. We cover, the startup and investor world, corporates, talents. Do you see any way that Tool and our audience that are listening and viewing in today can actively support you?
I would love for people to take a closer look into our website, to feel free to contact me to find out more. We've just done our impact report from 2025, which I'm happy to share with anyone, or you could even put a link to, if you like, in the podcast recording. And we're creating a new presentation and pitch deck for 2026 and beyond. Really, like I said, we are growing into a global audience. We're growing into a global movement, and it started as a real grassroots initiative. We've got great impact and great opportunity to connect with a broader public audience. So if a brand feels aligned with what we're doing as a mission and the people that we can reach, if they see the opportunity to, whether they've got a product or something that would fit well, that can be presented in citywide event, whether it's a car brand or other, innovation that they want to come and bring to us. We're very keen to be showcasing more international innovations. So if people have some innovations that they'd like to bring to the festival next year, make sure to connect with us. Speakers, if you're going to be in Australia, anyone who's got something good to share, but we do 2 full days of talks in Bondi, plus talks in the city at the Maritime Museum, and we have a Blue Solutions Summit, which is more business and government focused. So we'd love to hear from anyone who sees any opportunities for collaboration, involvement, and I'm happy to share more information with you that you can share with the audience afterwards.
That is wonderful. And of course, we had this year's festival on the Global Tool calendar, and we're also setting up the details, links, and everything on the global calendar for the 2026 edition. And then I wonder, Anita, because I think, you and I were both single moms having juggled kids, international work, lots of passion, lots of different daily challenges to balance and mix. I like to talk about not work-life balance, but more work-family fusion as kind of a model to cope. And in this series, we believe very strongly that really the robustness, the grit, the strength we need is built through openness, sharing our vulnerabilities, and just being not considered as superhumans, but just normal people with our strengths and flaws and everything happening in life. And I wonder if you have a challenge that you have been through in your life that you have worked through to overcome, where you gathered some life hacks, basis for advice that you would want to share with other founders and women out there to inspire and support them in their journeys.
Look, being a single mum of 4 and actually having a divorce happening through the building of my business, it has definitely been a challenging time. I think that I've taken a lot of strength from feeling like Ocean Lovers I found my purpose, and that's given me a lot of strength, especially in the times when we come to festival time, I'm really juggling with the kids. And as much as you like to involve them in a lot of things, the hours in the day just disappear, whether dinner ends up on the table at 8:30 instead of 6:00, or, it can be a real juggle. It's great to have family support. I think the most important thing is to remember not to sweat the small shit. Sometimes you just got to know to let go of things and to go, you know what, it's maybe not so important if I don't pay attention to that right now, because there are more important things in life. And yeah, not sweating the small shit's definitely an important one. Hopefully that helps. Sorry for swearing.
Great. That is a great hack. I really, really support that. And then I wonder, because it's, building up this community platform that your festival is, I love to hear what founders need, but also I believe very strongly that we have a lot of needs for resources from others, but we also, as founders and with our companies, we also represent resources for others. And I think with with a festival like yours, that is also like kind of a huge sandbox of opportunities. Can you, I mean, you mentioned a bit with like speaker opportunities or, more environmental brands coming on board, but can you share some specific details on which type of resource that you and the festival can represent when it comes to other entrepreneurs in our global community that has relevant solutions and that maybe are looking into the Australian market on their next?
Absolutely. I do think we are such a platform that offers connection. So whether it's being a speaker or bringing your product to our event, or if you have a bigger showcase of some kind that we can plug in, we have an incredible number of connections here from having worked in this space for some time, and we are more than happy to help with those connections. We would love to showcase what you're doing to the Australian audience and help in any way we can for you to connect with people that would help you grow your product or your innovation in Australia or your ideas.
Perfect. That is great. And I also know that we share some of the same partners with Ocean Impact Organization that built the first really
an accelerator
for ocean impact companies out from Australia. So I think there are some great synergies and opportunities for the innovators that are tuning in now to connect both with you and the guys there. And then I wonder, Anita, which female founder or owner has inspired you and who you would love to see featured on the Wavemaker podcast onwards?
I come across so many incredible women. I've got to say, I find that there's so many inspirational women in the ocean space. There are so many, I can't tell you, but one that I can definitely think of right now off the top of my head is Pia Winberg. She's an incredible marine scientist from Sweden. She's started a company called FICO, seaweed farming and saving the planet with pasta and infused with seaweed. Lots of great ideas. I think she would be absolutely fabulous to have on your podcast.
Thank you. And she's not very far away from where I'm sitting either. I think she's already on our list. So thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And then, I mean, when we have already been speaking a lot about talents, and I can never do one of these episodes without covering the talent topic. But looking at the ocean industries from your side, we are extremely eager to get many more talents, whether they're young or more mature, interested in the ocean space and building their career, finding their purpose in the ocean. And what would you see from your end as key human skills or capabilities that are really essential for young people and talents from the outside industries entering the ocean space? And do you have any very core essential advice for any talent listening in today that wants to take part of the ocean journey with all of us?
I think one of the main thing to think about is it doesn't matter what your background is. From an educational point of view, if you have a passion for ocean, you can almost always find a way to tie it in. It doesn't matter if it's science, photography, business, whatever it is, there's always an angle to tie it in. We run one of our school events is called the Sea Science Student Expo for year 9 to 12 students, for high school students. We get a few hundred science school students that come to this event every year. We've been doing it now for, I think, 3 years. And we get presenters to come to talk, but we have some of the universities that come and present. But then on the side, we might have an aquarist or a young ocean crusader, that's just in a completely different industry, because it doesn't matter what you're doing. There's so many avenues to get into ocean space. It doesn't matter if it's accounting, engineering, all of those things can relate to ocean if you want it to. So yeah, I think you just have to do a bit of exploring and digging. Contact Tool or contact us, and you can find out plenty of opportunities.
Excellent. Anita, this was so inspiring. I really loved to have this conversation with you and getting to spend some time together.
Yes, lovely to spend time with you too.
And to those listening in and following this Female Founders podcast, Wavemakers, stay tuned for an ocean of amazing women as we move along this year. Thank you and see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Here we go.